Hey everyone, welcome back to the Social Work Progressive. I'm Stephanie Smith, and today we are doing something a little different. We are taking a framework you have heard since your very first social work class, Person and Environment, and we are looking at it through an advanced practice lens. If you are a student, an intern, a new clinician, or honestly a seasoned social worker who has not thought about PIE in a while, this one is for you. Before we break down the framework, I need you to hear this. Every helping profession loves to say they see the whole person, but social work is the only one that built a framework for it and put it at the center of the profession. Person and environment is not a warm-up concept. It is what makes us social workers instead of something else. Hutchison, 2019, argues that the person and environment lens is the defining contribution social work brings to interdisciplinary teams. And Rogers, 2019, describes it as the organizing logic of contemporary social work practice across micro, mezzo, and macro settings. When we use PIE well, we stop treating symptoms and start treating context. Quick refresher, because even advanced practitioners benefit from it. Micro is the individual and their closest relationships. Mezzo is the groups and institutions they move through. Macro is the policies, laws, economies, and cultural forces shaping what is possible. And chrono is time, life stage, history, the moment the client is living through. This four-level view has roots in Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory, and it has been adapted and extended by social work scholars like Hutchison, 2019, and Teeter, 2020, to reflect contemporary practice realities. Micro is where most new clinicians get stuck, and I understand why. It is the level where you feel like you have control, but go deeper than how is the client feeling. Micro includes biology, temperament, trauma history, identity, attachment, cognition, physical health, and the relationships inside the four walls of the home. Teeter, 2020, reminds us that even at the micro level, we are never looking at an isolated individual. We are looking at a person who is already shaped by every other level of their environment before they walk in the door. Mezzo is the level students forget and supervisors live in. The school that is failing the kid, the employer that will not accommodate the diagnosis, the faith community that is both support and shame, the neighborhood that determines whether a walk feels safe. A lot of what gets diagnosed as individual pathology is actually a structural problem wearing a personal face. This is directly in line with CSWE's educational policy and accreditation standards, which position mezzo-level assessment as a core competency of professional social work practice. Council on Social Work Education, 2022. Macro is the level that gets skipped in notes and sometimes dismissed as political. It is not political, it is clinical. Medicaid rules, immigration status, housing policy, criminal legal involvement, and cultural narratives about mental health shape every single choice your client can and cannot make. If your assessment does not hold macro in view, you are writing a diagnosis in a vacuum. The NASW Code of Ethics, National Association of Social Workers, 2021, is explicit about this. Ethical social work practice requires attention to the social, economic, and political conditions that shape our clients' lives. That is not advocacy. That is the job. Okay, here is the part I really want you to hear. In social work classrooms, in supervision, in our notes, we talk about micro, mezzo, and macro constantly. Those three get all the airtime. Chrono usually gets a polite nod and then we move on. I want to push back on that. Chrono is not the optional fourth level. It is just as important as the other three. And in a lot of cases, it is the level that explains why an intervention that should work is not working. Where is this client in their life cycle? What historical moment are they living through? A 20-year-old today is not a 20-year-old from 2005. A grieving grandparent in 2026 is holding grief that stacks on top of a pandemic. Hutchison, 2019, calls time one of the most underutilized dimensions in social work assessment, and I think she is exactly right. Time is data. Name the moment. It belongs in the chart. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Meet Maya, 29, second-generation immigrant, working 2 jobs, recently diagnosed with generalized anxiety, referred by her primary care doctor. A non-PIE clinician sees anxiety and hands her a worksheet. A PIE clinician sees something very different. At the micro level, Maya is a first-generation college graduate, undiagnosed until now, and a devoted caregiver to her younger siblings. At Mezzo, her workplace offers no mental health benefits. Her family treats therapy as weakness, and her faith community is both anchor and pressure. At Macro, she is working with a high-deductible plan, carrying student debt, navigating cultural scripts about being strong, and facing a shortage of culturally responsive providers. And at Chrono, she is in a post-pandemic labor market. Her parent is entering chronic illness, and she is at the hinge point between emerging adulthood and caregiving. The anxiety is real. The context is the treatment plan. Quick honesty check. Here are the pitfalls I see most often in my own work and in the work of people I supervise. Treating PIE as a diagram you drew once and never returned to. Collapsing everything into micro because micro is easiest to bill. Using environment as a synonym for family and stopping there. Naming macro forces in supervision but never writing them in the chart. Mistaking cultural humility for cultural expertise. And letting the client's resilience erase the system's harm. If any of those just landed, you are in good company. Name it, then do it differently next time. If you are a student, this is where your program is grading you, whether they say so or not. The Council on Social Work Education's 2022 Educational Policy and Accreditation Standards explicitly ties several core competencies to person and environment thinking. Competency 2, anti-racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is where ADEI stops being a syllabus line and becomes a clinical practice. Competency 3, human rights and social, economic, and environmental justice, is where macro analysis in the note becomes a justice act. Competencies 7 and 8, assessment and intervention, are literally structured around the assumption that you are seeing the whole environment. Council on Social Work Education 2022. On the ethics side, the 2021 NASW Code of Ethics is where PIE lives in black and white. Standard 1.05 on cultural competence reminds us we cannot honor a culture we have not named. Standard 6.01 on social welfare makes macro awareness an ethical obligation, not an option. Standard 6.04 on social and political action invites us to think beyond the session room. And Standard 1.01, commitment to clients, ties it all together. Seeing the full context is how you actually serve them. National Association of Social Workers 2021. Here is a 5-step workflow you can use on your very next client. 1. Before intake, scan what you already know about this client's macro and chrono context. Do not walk in cold. 2. In session, ask at least one question at each level. Micro, mezzo, macro, chrono. 3. On the page, write at least one sentence per level in your assessment. If a level is blank, ask yourself why. 4. In the plan, name at least one intervention that moves beyond the individual. Advocacy, referral, system navigation, psychoeducation for the family. 5. In supervision, bring the level you are most likely to skip. That is where your growth is. And remember what I said earlier, the level most of us skip is chrono. Do not let that be you. Person and environment is not the old framework. It is the framework used at an advanced level. It is how social workers refuse to pretend that a client's pain starts and stops at their own skin. Every note you write is a chance to show the whole picture. Every client you see is a chance to practice what makes us social workers in the first place. Zoom out until the client comes into focus. References: APA 7, Council on Social Work Education. 2022, Educational Policy and Accreditation Standards for Baccalaureate and Master's Social Work Programs. https www.cswe.org/accreditation standards 2022 EPAs. Hutchison, ed. 2019. Dimensions of Human Behavior, Person and Environment. 6th edi. Sage Publications. National Association of Social Workers, 2021. Code of Ethics of the National Association of Social Workers. https www.socialworkers.org about ethics, Code of Ethics, Code of Ethics. English Rogers, AT 2019. Human Behavior in the Social Environment, Perspectives on Development and the Life Course, 5th ed. Routledge, Teeter, B. 2020. An Introduction to Applying Social Work Theories and Methods, 3rd ed. Open University Press. I'm Stephanie Smith, LCSW, and this is the Social Work Progressive, where practice meets the classroom. If this was useful, subscribe for the rest of the Advanced Practice series. New video every week. And if you are an instructor, everything in this video has a free companion toolkit linked in the description, including discussion prompts you can drop straight into your syllabus. See you next time.